Hello and welcome to Mimi's Sketchbook. Today my illustration was inspired by Paul David Tripp's book New Morning Mercies, and today is August 8th. This little bird is a downy woodpecker, and I often see this guy on the tree right outside my kitchen window. And that tree is a locust tree, and it often has locust bugs on the bark. They're actually under the bark. And apparently the little downy woodpecker likes them and comes, and all he has to do is poke around and not even drill into the tree, and he can find a good batch of insects. So I see this little guy around. But what made me think of him was this morning I heard, even with my windows closed, the drilling of the woodpecker. And I'm not sure how far away it was, but I'm always surprised at how that sound carries and how loud it is, and how the tree acts like a sounding board, so you can hear that drilling from quite a distance away. But have you ever heard a woodpecker pecking on a hollow tree? Now that is really loud, because that hollow tree now acts like a drum, and you can just hear that. I'm sure a whole block away. It's so loud. But as loud as it is drilling on a hollow tree is, I don't think it can match when a woodpecker decides to drill on your metal gutters, which is what happened to me one day. And it was like my whole house became the sounding board, and it sounded like I was inside a drum. For a few moments, I almost thought it was a machine gun shooting at the house. It was so loud. And when I realized it was safe to go outside, I went out and checked around the house to see what could possibly have been going on, and found this tiny little bird. He was perched on my roof, actually, leaning upside down and tapping to the inside of the gutter. So I looked these little guys up, and they are only 6 or 7 inches long, and they're the smallest woodpecker. And they are common all over the United States. And they eat, it says, wood-boring insects, seeds, and berries. And I also found out that pounding on a metal object isn't all that unusual. And I found a couple of YouTube videos that showed some woodpeckers going at it, and I had to laugh. I thought it was pretty funny, especially when it was happening to somebody else. But anyways, I read that they think the woodpeckers do that because they're either marking their territory or looking for a mate. Who knows? But they sure do demand your attention when they make that ear-splitting noise. Today in his devotions, Paul Tripp talks about obedience. And to many people, when you hear the word obey, all of a sudden your back stiffens and your brain says, I don't want to obey. I don't have to obey and we rebel against it and have an inner tantrum. You know, I can still remember the first time I saw somebody having a temper tantrum. I was at my friend's house, and we were probably 10 years old, and her little sister had a tantrum. It was shocking and ridiculous, a lot like that ear-splitting noise made by the woodpecker drumming on my gutters. And that's what I imagine I look like to God when my sin nature wants to have its own way. Not a very pretty picture. How embarrassing. But Paul Tripp says that for believers, obedience is not a pain, but a joy. So here's the good news. When we remember how good and gracious God has been to us, that will motivate us to want to obey. Isn't that so much better than the painful way of throwing yourself on the ground and having a tantrum or banging your head against the gutter like that woodpecker? I really appreciate this lesson because it helped me see that obedience isn't giving in or giving up what I want to what God wants, but rather obedience is choosing to do the right thing because I am grateful. So thank you for joining me today at Mimi's Sketchbook. I hope this has been an encouragement to you, and if it has, could you please subscribe to this channel, give the video a thumbs up, and maybe even share this video with someone else. In that way, YouTube will help us spread the good news. Thank you, and God bless.